He is in love with his own unconscious. And this puts a completely crushing burden on the relationship because eventually, inevitably, that woman is going to do something human.
She's going to burp or be in a bad mood or have a completely different political opinion.
And the projection immediately shatters.
And he says you've changed, when really she was never that fantasy to begin with.
Exactly. The text argues that true love is actually only possible after the projection falls away, when you can see the other person as a messy, flawed human being and choose to love them anyway.
But that initial magical phase.
That is often just a form of narcissism in disguise.
Ouch, is a really hard pill to swallow. So the solution to this trap is to what? Just marry yourself?
In a psychological sense, yes. You have to integrate those qualities within yourself. A man needs to actively develop his own access to emotion and intuition. A woman needs to own her own inner authority and logic.
And when you do that,
you stop looking for a partner to be your missing half. You are already whole. You look for a partner to share a life with, not someone to fix you or complete you.
which leads us perfectly to the final destination on this map. We've done the ego, we've unpacked the shadow, we've navigated the anima and animus, and it all leads to this massive lifelong process called individuation.
Individuation, it really is the central concept of Jung's entire life's work. It is the ongoing process of becoming who you actually are.
Becoming who you are. It sounds a bit like a Nike slogan. Just do it. Be yourself. It sounds a little easy when you say it like that.
It sounds simple, but it is genuinely the hardest work you will ever do in your life. Because it's not about adding things to yourself.
Like learning a new language or getting promotion.
Right. It's not self-improvement. It is a process of subtraction. It's stripping away the false masks of the persona you build. It's willingly going into the basement and reclaiming the shadow. It's balancing those inner opposites.
It requires you to face things about yourself that you have probably spent a lifetime running away from.
Exactly. And the text makes a very specific distinction here that I think is absolutely vital for people to hear. It says the ultimate goal is not perfection. The goal is wholeness.
This is where modern self-help gets it entirely wrong, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're always trying to be better. We want to be happier, fitter, richer, nicer.
Jung says stop trying to be good, try to be whole.
What is the practical difference there?
A perfect person has no flaws, which, by the way, is impossible. A whole person has flaws, but they know them intimately. They have real darkness, but they are on speaking terms with it.
They can hold the tension of opposites.
Yes. That phrase comes up so much in the source material. The tension of opposites.
What does holding the tension of opposites actually look like on a random Tuesday afternoon?
It means you can be incredibly strong and also deeply vulnerable. You can be highly disciplined and completely playful. You don't collapse into just one side of the binary.
Because most people live life like a pendulum.
They swing wildly from starving themselves on a diet to binge eating, or from working 80-hour weeks to just collapsing on the couch in burnout.
That's a lack of integration.
Exactly. Individuation is being able to hold the center.
The text mentions that this process usually kicks into high gear around midlife, the dreaded midlife crisis.
Right. Jung saw the midlife crisis not as a disaster, but as a profound summons.
How so?
Well, in your 20s and 30s, you need the ego to build your life. You have to get the job, find the mate, fit into society. You need to build a strong container.
But by 40?
By 40, that container usually gets way too small. You have achieved the things you set out to do, but you wake up feeling completely empty.
That classic "is this all there is" feeling.
Exactly. And people think that's clinical depression, but Jung says no, that is the soul knocking on the door. It's the rest of the personality, the shadow, the anima, demanding to finally be let into the house.
And the text suggests that if you ignore this call, you essentially dry up. You become bitter. You become that cliche of the old man shouting at clouds.
But if you answer it, you start the second half of life, which is no longer about achievement. It becomes entirely about meaning.
It's a shifting of the center of gravity, right? From the ego to the self.
Beautifully put. The self with a capital S in Jungian terms is the center of the entire psyche, both conscious and unconscious.
So individuation is just the ego finally realizing it's not the king, it's just the prime minister. It serves a greater whole.
Yes, it serves the greater self.
So looking at this entire map, ego, shadow, anima, individuation, it really completely changes how you view having a bad day, doesn't it?
Completely. Instead of just feeling bad and playing the victim, you become a psychological detective.
You ask, why did I react that way to Dave?
Exactly. What is my shadow trying to tell me right now? What fundamental part of myself am I currently neglecting? It turns your entire life into a constant fascinating conversation with the unconscious.
It really takes the fear out of it. The stranger in the house isn't an intruder at all. He's just a roommate I haven't taken the time to meet yet.
And a roommate who actually has incredible gifts for you if you are brave enough to just open the door.
So here is the challenge for you listening right now. We want to leave you with something practical to test this out in your own life. Because let's face it, this stuff can feel very theoretical and abstract until you actually apply it.
A little practical shadow work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about the person in your life right now who irritates you the absolute most. And I don't mean someone who has actually harmed you. We are not talking about an abuser.
Right, just everyday annoyance.
I mean the one who just constantly annoys you, the one who makes you roll your eyes every time they speak, your personal Dave from accounting.
And don't just vent about them to your friends over drinks. That just satisfies the ego.
Right. Stop looking at them and turn the lens around and look at your own reaction.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, if this person is a mirror, what exactly are they reflecting back to me?
What trait do they have that I am simply not allowing myself to express?
Are they selfish? Are they lazy? Are they too loud?
And the really important follow-up question is, what would happen if you let a little bit of that specific trait out of your own basement?
What if you were just 5% more selfish or 5% louder?
You might find that the irritation completely vanishes. And you suddenly have a lot more daily energy because you aren't exhausted from holding the door shut on the basement anymore.
That is the very beginning of individuation.
It really is.
But I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. Something that builds on everything we've talked about today. We spent this whole time talking about how individuals project their shadow onto other individuals. Dave and coworker.
Right, personal projection.
But what happens when an entire society refuses to look in the mirror? If an entire culture takes its collective shadow, all its unacknowledged fear, greed, and aggression, and projects it onto another group of people?
Oh, that's a powerful question.
Are the major conflicts we see in the world today actually just a massive destructive scale of animus possession and shadow projection? And if so, the only real way to change the world is to start by integrating the stranger in your own house.
That is a lot to think about.
It is uncomfortable work, but hey, it definitely beats staying asleep at the wheel. Thanks for diving deep with us today into the architecture of the mind.
See you next time.